Welcome to the show. We have a bunch of different things today. We're going to have a talk with Cam Wright, who, if you haven't seen him this season, the early going for Pitt basketball, he's been outstanding. And the kid is just flying to the basket. He's making things happen, much more dynamic, much more versatile than he was last season. He is the obvious breakout pick for the Pitt Panthers as they go into ACC play. We'll be talking to him and the interesting summer that he had. Also going to have Rob Biertempfel, the Trib's baseball beat writer, on later in the show, cover a bunch of Pirates things. Not just the awards this week, but also A.J. Burnett, Marlon Byrd. What are they going to do about right field? Rob will be on to go over that stuff. I want to start today, since the Flyers are in town. I don't even want to make fun of the Flyers. It's so easy. It's candy from a baby. It's all those LOL Flyers jokes that you see on Twitter and everything else. They've become almost too easy. I want to hear from you which team you hate the most. Is it possible that there is a team that's more generally detestable around sports? If you want to throw colleges in, you can. But a team that's more generally detestable than the Philadelphia Flyers. That's what I want to hear from you. Give me a call at 412-320-7925. And don't hold back. Don't be nice about it. To me, the Flyers, they kind of stand alone in this bracket. They really do. And they're a team that's done everything in a certain way that is aimed at intimidation, that's aimed at pushing or bending the rules. We're going to see now the general managers are getting together in the NHL in a little while. They're going to eliminate goalie fights. You talk about attacking the symptom. I've already seen people refer to it in print as the Ray Emery rule. You'll probably hear it described at some point as the Flyers rule. That's what they've been doing for 30 years now, 40. Going back to when they won the Stanley Cups in 1974 and 75. They just have tried to scare people, to scare teams with their brand, with their individuals. I don't think it works anymore. And I'm not just saying that because they're not scoring goals. I'm not saying that because, they've had some key losses. They've made some bad trades. There's a lot more that goes into the Flyers being in last place than the culture that's being discussed on the other side of the Commonwealth. I think it's more about the fact that what they're trying to do, what they are built around, doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work in hockey. It doesn't work in football. I don't even think intimidation works in baseball anymore. Who's intimidating in baseball? Who is it? Since Randy Johnson. Anybody? Is there a pitcher that goes out there that you think, wow, there's a really menacing figure, that Bob Gibson type, Bob Feller to go way back? Who are those people? I don't think they're out there. We talked a lot about it, Andrew McCutchen, whether or not he got intimidated by the Cincinnati Reds. The numbers don't support it. The narrative does. The numbers don't. In football, who is intimidating? Who is that Jack Tatum, Mel Blount, even James Harrison, Ryan Clark? Where are those guys? Who are they? Is it Ndamukong Suh from Detroit? I don't think so. What would you be doing? Or what would they be doing, NFL Films and everybody else, if Suh were playing 30 years ago? I'll tell you right now, they would have half-hour specials. Half-hour specials on how great he is, on how fantastic he is, with John Facenda narration and all the orchestra and the band playing in the background and everything else. Now he's just a crazy guy. People just look at him and think, what's wrong with him? And they wonder whether or not they should get him out of the game. It's a different sport. In hockey, where does your intimidation come from? Where are the scary guys in the league? Traditionally, they've been either your fighters, enforcers going way back. They kind of lost that edge in the 90s. There weren't really any scary fighters. There's not a team that you played that you worried about a fighter coming after you. or the open ice hitters. The open ice hitters have been neutered for the most part. Remember, Scott Stevens from the Devils is a classic case. You could never enter the New Jersey zone without fearing for your life. Scott Stevens was going to find you, and he was going to go up high. Remember, he did it to Eric Lindros. He did it to several players. At the time, those hits were clean. He played within the rules. Now they aren't. Who are the great open ice hitters in hockey right now? Who are they? Brooks Orpik had a reputation for a while as being that guy. He can still knock a guy down. But I don't know that you hear teams saying that they fear Brooks Orpik or that they fear another player. Where is the intimidation? Where does it work? What are the Flyers thinking when they add to the equation of Steve Downey? Yeah, I know he's got some skill. He scored a handful of goals. But the guy has basically carved himself a decent living mostly through being feisty on top of his goal scoring, through being something of a loose cannon. Those are the guys that the Flyers get. They still think that they can scare people. They fired a good coach in Peter Laviolette. Nobody would deny that, including the people who run the Flyers, including all of their players, that this guy was a good coach. He outsmarted Dan Bylsma. Make no mistake, 2 years ago in the playoffs. He manhandled Dan Bylsma in those playoffs with a strategy. They fired him and they replaced him with Craig the Chief Berube, because Craig the Chief Berube has 5 billion penalty minutes. He looks really menacing back there, and he's going to get these guys to play Flyers hockey, by God. That's that kind of franchise right now. They're a graveyard for goalies. The last goalie they had of any significant worth was Ron Hextall, and actually he kind of fit the Flyers motif, if you will, pretty well. The Flyers have made moves again and again and again where they've traded away skilled players in terms of toughness, and you watch them win Stanley Cups. Jeff Carter, Mike Richards in Los Angeles. You're seeing James Van Riemsdyk really blossom very nicely in Toronto. And the Flyers are left with, a whole lot of Shen brothers and players who just aren't nearly as good as what they sent out, because they think that they can still scare people. Do you think they're going to scare anybody? Do you think they're going to scare the Penguins tonight? Do you think that they beat Ottawa last night because they scared them? Who is it that thinks like this? I'll tell you who. It's Ed Snyder and the Philadelphia Flyers and nobody else.